Good morning, family. Back with another walk talk. Hopefully this one is short. I don't know if this is gonna be a long one or not. But man, I was thinking about, Matthew 5, how we are the salt of the earth and light of the world. We're salt and light. That's what God has called every believer to be, salt and light. And when we look at salt as a preserver, right? Salt preserves decay. That's what it was used back in the Bible days, or in the days of antiquity. It was because it preserved food from rot, right? You pack it in salt. You can see that now, like when we do meats. You could pack it in salt to preserve the meat from going bad, especially without refrigeration. And most people back in those days didn't have refrigeration, so it was preserver, but it also gave taste, right? Some seasoning. It put some seasoning in your life, right? It made bland food taste better, different. There was some seasoning. But then we have light, right? Light is the presence, it's the absence of darkness. But we used that a couple of weeks ago for definition. That is not really light or dark. Anyway, so light is the show. Light is the exposure. Light is the to be seen. Light is the actionable. Now the crazy thing is, light is to be seen, right? That's what shine bright. That's what light is. But then salt is what's inside, preserved. You're not going to see the salt do its work because it's an eternal thing or internal thing. And then light is an external. It's out, right? So, but the crazy thing is you can't have one without the other. It's just like grace and mercy. Grace is getting something that we don't deserve, and mercy is withholding something that we do reserve, right? So that's what those are, but you can't have one without the other. Same thing with salt and light. Salt is the action, right? Salt is showing. That's your exposing, you're talking, your ministry. That's your outward appearance. That's what that is, right? But the salt is the seasoning. That's the internal. I'm reminded of, it was this book that we had to read in seminary about how this man, he had salt, and he wanted to preserve all his salt. So he bought like these 4 houses, right? Just regular houses, and he threw salt up in the houses, no bags, just started piling all his salt in the houses. And then eventually, when he went to go use the salt, he lost that his salt had lost its flavor. Well, what happened? Salt is only good. Salt was only good when when it didn't contact the floor. When you look at pure salt in today's context, when you look at pure salt, yeah, it won't lose its flavor because it's pure. But if it's got some contamination in the salt from back in the day and how they preserved it, to keep the salt salty, if it touched anything that wasn't pure salt, it would be considered contaminated. So it's going to start losing its flavor. So with that being said, what's happening? I don't know what just happened right there. Something with my sound, it started making noises and weird stuff. But the cool thing about salt is, another thing when you talk about the Christian life, we need to be salty without contamination. Salty without contamination. This is having contact with the world. We're having this contact with the world where we can be the salt, the preserver, but also we're in a place of contamination. right? Our world is contaminated. Our world is foul. Our world is dying. And as believers, we're supposed to be the salt to help preserve it by giving the gospel, sharing the gospel, witnessing. But the only way we can do that is to be in contact with the contaminated. Yeah, that's that preacher mentality. You got to be in contact. That contamination is the people that we live with. They're evil, sinful, corrupt people. And we're supposed to be in there. Now, as salt people that are of salt, of God, right? The question is, and I guess the hard part is, don't be contaminated. When we look in the Bible, we look at Lot, Abraham's nephew. He went to Sodom. When he went to Sodom, it wasn't that Sodom, that he wasn't salt, but he let the contamination inside of him. He let contamination rule him. Now think about this, y'all. If he was the salt and light of the world, the light is the sharing of the good news, thousands of people would have been saved. Think about it. If he would have saved his family, there wouldn't be no more. Sodom and Gomorrah would have been okay. If he would have saved his family, his family, he had 2 daughters that weren't married. You had his wife, then you had 2 daughters that was married. Then they had their husbands. So there's 4, 6, 7, and 8. And then all he had to do was get a mailman or 2. And then boom, he would have had 10 people, and the whole place of Sodom would be been saved. Now, the crazy part, because we are human beings and all of that, we see like, yo, they didn't accept Jesus, so they didn't accept God and his mercy, so of course, burn them up, right? We can't think like that, because as believers, we should hurt when people reject Jesus. We should hurt when people reject the ways and the laws of God. We're a chosen people. We are called out ones. We're supposed to share the good news to everybody that we come in contact with. They should know the gospel. They should know the Jesus that we serve. They should know these things. And when people die not knowing who Jesus is, as Lord and Savior, that should make you hurt. You should cry, because remember, you was in darkness. Paul says in Ephesians 5 that you were darkness, not just dark, but you was darkness. You were the epitome of without light. It was you. But because God has given you the light to shine by accepting Jesus, guess what you got? You are no longer in darkness. You're out of darkness because you're now shining. You are light bearers. You are the one that's going to light up the world. We got to light it up. Light it up. You got to preserve it, but you got to light it up. You got to tell somebody. And so, just as believers, man, are we doing what we're called to do as being salt and light? Are you coming into contact with the corrupt so that you can reach some? Or are you becoming corrupt just like Lot? And where, because of his one action, because he didn't save his family, thousands of people died. Who knows? God has put you on this earth to be the person to save thousands by being salt and light. I don't know. This is just something that I was just thinking about, how we are salt and we are light. We got to share the good news. We got to be a witness. We're not called to just sit in a cupboard in a dark place. We are called to share the good news, have the character and some content to give the people, to be a witness. They see our lives and the way we act. They see the integrity that we live by. They see that we just don't talk that talk. We are actually walking that walk. We are doing what we're called to do by being believers in Jesus Christ. So that's all I got, y'all. Hopefully this is cool. That's the walk talk. Be salt, be light, shine bright like a diamond, and stay salty, my friends. Stay salty. All right, I love you. Remember, God love you. So do I. Ain't nothing you can do about it. I'll see y'all until next time. Walk talk. Peace.